Hi, welcome to the Be Global by Design podcast, where we talk to creatives, designers, and change makers from around the world about the work that they're doing to make communities places where we want to live. I am very excited today to have Erika Davis on the show. Erika is a mega entrepreneur working in events and strategic communications across federal and private sector landscapes. I'm also honored to consider her a friend. Welcome, Erika. I'm excited that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure. So tell us a little bit about event production because it's essentially a design and creative endeavor. What are some of the factors that you kind of take into account when you're designing an event for a client?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we listen to what their vision is, what they're trying to achieve, what the desired outcome is. And then from there, there's there can be budget constraints, right? So we want to keep in mind also what are the resources that they have that they can put to this. And once we understand those two things, we then put together a plan that resembles exactly what they're envisioning, and then making sure that it comes in on budget. That process looks like conversations, couple meetings, any past events that they've done that they've really liked, anything that they have not liked, and then sketching something out that again mirrors what they are looking for within budget. Uh, that comes in with even just signage,
Hmm.
um, furniture that needs to be used, um, banners, logos. So sort of all the overall look and feel of the event is really important to convey to the stakeholders, to their attendees, exactly what they want to convey. And all of those things come into play when you're planning and producing an event.
Great. So you're thinking not just about like the nuts and bolts of how this is going to happen, but how are we delivering something that's going to impact people at all different levels, really draw them into the show and what the experience is, it sounds like.
Yeah. And more than ever, experience is really important, right? So if you are designing an educational conference, yes, the educational content is really important, but the experience that people have is equally important. From the time that they cross the threshold to your event, they need to feel excited. They need to feel like they're being taken care of, like they are the star. Even if this is a 2,000 or 200 attendee conference, everyone needs to feel special. And they need to feel like this is that their resources, their money that they paid to attend this conference was worth it. Because you're competing with a lot of different events out there. There's an event for everything now. And so when you're asking people to pay and come and spend their time and their resources to come to your event, you want people to feel like it was worth it. And I can't wait to next year.
Yeah. What drew you to event planning?
Oh, that's a great question. Not many people ask that one, but when I was it in college? Must have been in college. Yeah, I think it was in college. My boyfriend at the time threw parties. So
Oh,
he was throwing an
fun.
experience, and I got a chance to help him with that. He did it just because it was something he knew to do. He was very popular on campus, but for me, I liked it because, yes, we gave folks an experience and they couldn't wait to the next party, but what I wanted to do is create some kinda system around that so we could sort of plug and play, and that would keep our costs down. So that was how I got into it, just in college from a
Did
boyfriend at the
anybody
time,
that
throwing
story?
parties.
Wow, I never knew that. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, Talk a little bit about the role of like creative, like how do you pick we worked together on the trade and investment shows for Afghanistan, the USAID funded project. And one of one of the conversations we continually had with the client was what kind of music are we playing, right? And we wanted it to be more Afghan and less Bollywood, but you had to appeal to all the different audiences. But talk a little bit about what the role of creatives and designers are in event planning.
Wow. Goodness. Even, from our event planners are creative. Some of them are creative, some are not as creative. But then we have our graphic designers that are designing the look, like we talked a little bit about earlier, the look and feel of the event. Again, when people step into your event, you want to transform them into whatever this world is that you're creating for the period of time that you have them. And so it is critical that we hire designers that are able to understand what our clients are truly looking for and then turn that into what they were expecting and actually wow them with it. And like you said, it's music. What kind of music and when do we play it, right? Because it's not even just the music that we play, but when do we play it? When is it appropriate to play music? How loud do you play it? Do you keep it so it's just sort of background music where it warms the environment? Or is it an event, maybe we're doing a reception where, it's not so much about networking, but it is about having a good time, and then that music goes up a little bit louder. So it really depends on the event itself, with the event within the event, when it's being held, where it's being held. That is really important when you start looking at music and the type of music. And like you said, when we're looking at cultural differences, making sure you understand when it's appropriate to play that kind of music, because sometimes that kind of music's not appropriate at 5 o'clock in the evening. So really understanding your audience, the different cultures that are coming together, so that we're not offending anyone, but being very appropriate and intentional with that.
Yeah, and I think that's an important theme, and you have done a lot of work internationally. I think one of the comments when we were doing the trade shows that has stuck with me is when we were in Kazakhstan and we had the show, one of the prominent businessmen from Kazakhstan came up and mentioned that this was the most well put together event because of the decor, because all the signage matched, because it was beautiful, because everything ran on time, because the profile books were beautiful, that he took us seriously and more seriously than other events that he had previously been to. So I think it's kind of a critical thing to really just put together a beautiful event,
Mhm.
because it changes perceptions. And one of the objectives for this show in particular was to change some of those perspectives about Afghans and what they were capable of and the professional view of Afghan businesses. Can you talk about like maybe some other examples where you've really kind of seen that culture play a role in the events that you were putting on?
Yeah. I will say, on a domestic front, I'm going to change that conversation. So, we do a lot of work with the Department of Defense.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you're going to an event with the Department of Defense, what do the most people think about? You think of like just flags, you think of, just sort of red, white, and blue. You don't think of anything that looks a bit luxurious. You don't think of
Mm-hmm.
anything that's aesthetically pleasing. You're thinking of how do we honor our country,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And when we, did our first one with the Department of Defense, we suggested, because they wanted to do a sort of fireside chat with department leaders, but they wanted to do it where it looked like they were instructing, something that was more educational. And while this was gonna be informative, it also needed to be warm. And
Mm-hmm.
so we suggested, let's do chairs, like sort of those club chairs where people felt invited. And it was sort of like we're guests in your living room.
Yeah.
And for a sec, it took us a bit to really explain to them why this was important, because this was not just an educational session, but this was a conversation where you want people to feel very comfortable and invited to engage in conversation with you, and they're not gonna do that when you're sitting in front of a table and, there's a lectern to the left, and, you've got folks and then there's a tabletop microphone. You want to um, remove those barriers and have where people feel like they can reach out and touch you. And when you have chairs and a little small table in the center for, decor items, small tables on the side for water, one, the speakers feel more comfortable. And then two, so does the audience. And so that was a real education thing for them because they were not used to that. It was not something they had done before. So, in terms of picking decor, we stuck with the color theme that we were working with, and I think there was some blue and red and white. And so what we did was we did these really comfortable, nice white leather chairs that we were able to get at a very discounted price. So we were very good stewards of the government's money, but it still conveyed the message, but and it also fit the specific event within this event so that we allowed folks to feel, what we were looking for them to feel engaged in the event.
Yeah, you're really creating an experience for people.
Exactly. Exactly, and we wanted like we said, we wanted folks to engage and not allow folks to engage.
That's amazing. Tell us a little bit about, you do more than just events. So tell us a little bit more about Davis Management Group and
Yeah,
where you are. It's been a
yeah.
rough year.
It has been a rough year. It's been a different year. It's been a year of transition is where I look at it. And, transition, no matter what, brings about opportunity. This year we've had a number of contract terminations, things not aligning with the new administration. And so we have been leaning into a lot of our strategic communications work, which we do right now for the Army G6. And so we draft talking points, we write speeches, we review newsletters and write articles. We hold briefings, press roundtables. We do. We haven't done any recently, but we typically will do town halls so folks in the Army can hear from our, general that we support. Um, and then we do some event planning as well, and it's typically where we get some of the leaders around. It's usually in a smaller setting, so these aren't large events. These are more intimate, working group sessions, but we hold those a couple of times a year, and then we do work collaboratively with the Army, um, Office of Public Affairs, where we work on the Army AUSA event, which brings in about 25,000 people. And so we have a pretty significant piece of that. So we do that. And then we work with HHS and we're doing some training events with them for their internal staff. And then we've also picked up some commercial work, which has been nice for us to do some strategic communications, some design work, redoing logos and communication collateral to help with their outreach efforts to their clients. And we also picked up some work with a law firm as well to help with some negotiations with some of their venues for some of the contract for some of the venues that they're looking at for their events. So it's been a different year, but it's allowed us to look at how we who we service, how we service them, and what messaging we're putting out to the business world about what we do and how we do it.
Yeah, and a lot of it's about connection and how can we build connection with audiences? How can we build connection with one another? It sounds like the work that you're doing. Um, so one of the things I know about you, and I think anyone watching this can see that you have beautiful artwork, beautiful interior design, beautiful fashion style. Tell us a little bit about the role that creativity and art and design and fashion and music play in your own life.
Wow, now that is a loaded question, Kristen. Oh man, where do I start? And I'm not going to start in any particular order, but um, design is to me, I love it because it's a personal expression of who I am. and it allows different parts of my personality because depending on how I feel that day is what I put on. Um, and you mentioned art in my home, the picture behind me. I love color, all color. And because color makes me feel alive. Like I'm wearing green. It is, the holiday season right now, but the green makes me feel good. It makes me think of holiday. The colors in that picture behind me, just every time I look at it, make I feel happier every time I see things with color in them. And so it's really important um, to express yourself through fashion, through color, through design. And I actually hired, when I first moved into my house, hired an interior designer to help me to bring out the things that I knew that were within me. I just didn't know how to pull it all together myself. So I needed a professional. So I actually hired someone to help me do that. And now I've got all kinds of rooms with different colors. I have a dining room that has blue wallpaper. I've got blue nail polish on today. But it because blue is one of my favorite colors, but I've got that. I've got purple in my bedroom. This room is kind of blue and pink. I've got a family room that has like mustard and black, so it's got a lot of black art in there. So I just whatever colors I like, I just use them in my room and mix a lot of colors and fabrics and I like to do that in our work if it allows, right? Because sometimes
Yeah.
it's not appropriate. But I love that. And then music. One of the things I love to do at home is play a lot of music. My kids will tell you that I love to have dance parties. We will be in the kitchen and something I may have my phone playing with some music and all of a sudden it goes up really loud and there's a dance party in the kitchen. So I love expressions of creativity in any form or fashion at any given time. It lifts my spirits when I'm sort of down. I
How do
don't
you
know what I would do without having that outlet.
how does it change the way you connect with other people and just by observation, right? When I there have been a few times when I have been with you and people will just pull you over because they want to talk with you because of the way that you really present yourself. Do you feel like it helps you really connect with other people?
I do. I do. I think it's a conversation starter, number one, right? So people will stop me and say, "Oh, I love this," or "I love your earrings. I love that," and then I will share. Oh my goodness, girl, this is so old. Let me tell you the story behind this, right? And so now we're connected by not only the fact that they like this piece, but now the story that I shared with them about it, or how I obtained it, um, or how it's been sitting in my closet, but for forever. So it is a way to connect with people because they always want to know where and how.
Right. Right.
And then it then inevitably will spark something for them and they will want to share. And now we've got a conversation going and we are relating to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Across
it's
whatever
beautiful.
cultures, whatever
Mhm.
differences, whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And now you're in a conversation with someone you don't even know that you really don't know. And it's been an hour and you're like, "Oh my goodness, I gotta go." But it's just been so enriching, right? From the compliment of I like, this thing that you're wearing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. I think one of the things, to just to go back to events and event planning really quick is, we don't always consider events as being a creative industry, but it really is a creative and design industry. And it adds a lot to the economy around where the event is taking place. Can you talk a little bit about any impact or how you see that? In terms of,
I
like, economic growth, social connection, and other things, the way that it can stimulate, society.
Yeah, no, Kristen, events bring a lot of revenue. I mean, I think about concerts. Let's just talk about that for music. We talked about music a little bit ago. Think about some of these concerts that come to town and they're at these big, huge arenas. That's a lot of money that they're bringing to that particular city. It's
Yeah,
huge. Um, or you're looking at food festivals. People will come in. And so the hotels are being affected because people are booking
Mhm.
hotels, right?
Yep.
They're the taxi cabs are or Ubers are making more money because people need to Uber there. The
Mhm.
food places around the venue are now taking advantage of the influx of folks, right? Because now they've got a lot of people here. They need some place to eat. Just a few places that they have there are not enough. So you've got the food places, airlines, people flying in. Right, taking so transportation is also taking advantage of that. So it is a huge economic driver, and the larger the event, the more revenue you see in a city. So, and that's from music to sports to cultural events. I know we worked with USDA and the National Restaurant Association. Yeah, the National Restaurant Association did an event in 2024 in Chicago. So they
Mhm.
brought in not only did they bring in international buyers, but they also brought in manufacturers from not only the Chicagoland area and the surrounding states, but they brought them in from all over the world. So again, we go back to hotels, right? All of those different modes of support for this event are all being affected in a very positive way because you've got all these people that descended on this city for this particular event. So events drive a lot of economic growth for a particular city. And I mean, think about the Olympics. They bid on these things, right? Because
Right.
they've got all of these people that are going to be coming into their city. That are and all of the folks will be taking advantage of all the economic uh, prosperity that will come from all of these people descending on the city, state, and the surrounding areas during that. So, absolutely, events are a huge economic driver.
And people tend to come back if they like the city, if
Yes,
they, were drawn to it because they do other things besides the event that they're attending
absolutely.
usually.
Hmm.
And if they like the food, if they like the people, if they, see a museum that they wanna come back to, they will come back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they'll want to come back because maybe they didn't have enough time. They tacked on maybe a day or two and they wanted to go to those museums, but didn't have enough time. So they're going to plan to come back because they had such a great time. So absolutely. And ease of getting around the city is important as well, too. So, all of those things come into play where you're looking at, people coming back to a particular location.
Amazing. Okay, so I am trying this is a brand new podcast, so I'm experimenting, but I'm trying to come up with some questions I can ask everybody just to give an idea of, like, differences across both in the US and, in other places in the world, like, just kind of daily questions. So,
Okay.
what does a typical day look like for you?
Ooh, well, number 1, I get up and work out. So I will say that is number 1. Health is important to me, so I will work out. I come back, I look at, because the night before I always put a to-do list together. So
Uh-huh.
I look at my to-do list, and then I, um, sort of organize my day around that to-do list. And then that usually looks like, some emails, of course, lots of meetings with either staff, partners. Um, and then I'm looking at different opportunities. I'm vetting different opportunities. And like I said, having conversations with partners. Um, and then one of the things I have been very intentional about, which I didn't do early on when I was really building the business, was having enough time to think and
Yeah.
stop doing and thinking.
Uh-huh.
So I allow for time to just think about a lot of different things. And I find that it has given me the space and the solutions, possible solutions to some of the problems that we are having. Um, I didn't do that before, and my head was always down, just working, working, working. But I find now I'm able to I have more possible solutions to problems, or just ideas that I
Mhm.
didn't always have because I was so busy working.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so that's what a typical day looks like, and then I try and I mean, and if we've got a proposal, then, then it's a late night
Oh,
and
yeah. Yeah.
possibly an early morning, but a lot of meetings, but really being intentional about that thinking.
Amazing. What is your favorite meal of all time?
I know this is gonna sound weird, but I love a salad, and let me tell you why I
Yeah.
love a salad.
Okay.
Because you can add hot things, cold things, you can add fruit to it, you can add nuts, and it transforms the salad, right? So maybe it was a cold meal initially if you just had cold items, but you add maybe some quinoa or some rice or some wild rice, and now it's sort of like a warm bowl. Maybe I throw a little fruit in it because I need a little something sweet in it. I throw some nuts in it because I need a little bit more extra texture. So now I roast some sweet potatoes and now
Ooh,
it's got something even more filling. You can always throw a meat in there. You can throw chicken, tofu, beef, and now you've got it's really hearty. So I like them because you can have a nice base and you can just build from there and transform it to be whatever you want it to be.
I like that. I like
Mm.
that. What is your most frequent mode of transportation and your favorite mode of transportation?
Oh, my most frequent right now is I'm driving a little bit more because I have to drive back and forth to DC. Um, my favorite is to get on a plane though, but a
I
big
love
plane, like
flying.
a big plane to
Love.
go somewhere far.
There's just nothing like it. I think the only time I sort of was like, okay, I've kind of had enough of planes for a while was like, we had 7 or 8 international trips in 15 months for the trade shows, and they were all, I think the shortest trip was 24 hours one way. And I was like, I think I'm done for a few minutes.
I'm
But,
sure.
I took a break for like 4 months and I was like, okay, where's a plane?
Mhm,
Where can
uh-huh,
I go?
mhm. 'Cause it's nothing like being on a plane and you know you're going somewhere far, the anticipation of when you're gonna arrive, what you're gonna see, if it's a place you've not been to before. I love it. I
I
love
do.
it.
I do.
Mhm,
What
yeah.
is your favorite thing about the year so far?
Hmm. Well, I
Well,
got to see my family on the West Coast
yep.
twice,
Okay.
specifically my grandson.
Oh, that's
Yeah. So that
amazing.
has been, amazing, to do.
That's
So
great.
that's been great.
And what are you most looking forward to next year?
Ah, I'm actually doing a video on this. I mean, we're doing a video, with our staff about what are you looking forward to, for 2026, and I have 3 things.
Okay.
Number 1, I'm looking forward to celebrating my grandmother's 103rd birthday in February. Okay, so that's number 1.
He's
Number
incredible.
2 Number 2, I'm looking forward to spending a lot more time with my grandson, because 'cause they're in San Diego, so I'm trying to figure out how we can get them over here and spend some more time. So that's the other thing I'm really looking forward to. And I will honestly say that I'm looking forward to the journey of rebuilding, DMG, this year, because we do have quite a bit of work to do, but, because this is a road I've traveled before, I know a little bit about what we need to do. We've got the right people in the right seats to help do it, to support it. I feel really good about what we're doing, and I think we're doing it in a really smart way. Whereas I don't believe that I did it in a smart way before. I was just sort of head down grinding. So I feel really good about that. So those are the 3 things that I'm looking forward to 2026.
That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for being on today. We really
Yeah.
appreciate you being here and talking to me today about all the really interesting things that you're working on.
Well, I'm honored that you even asked me, Kristen, and this is great. I'm excited to share, um, what you're doing in your new podcast, and I'm so excited for you. So, thank you for even asking me to be on and letting me share a little bit about what we're doing over at DMG. Um, this was great.
And thank you for joining us as a member and
Yes,
being part of our journey.
absolutely, absolutely. Wouldn't miss it.
Take care.
Okay, thanks.